long as I was going after the crooks that didn't have badges, I was everybody's hero.
Poor old Henry.
So grand jury's resuming, Vic. Back in session.
Resume. That's what we did.
Crazy, man.
Came back together. And that's when Jim Maddox and I decided, if they're going to even take our breaks and use that against us, we shouldn't talk anymore.
Smart.
Also, we've got a problem with people like Bob Larson, the exorcist radio preacher. And then there was Boutwell that came in to see him with his little tape recorder. So Maddox and I went to visit with Judge George Allen.
Ooh.
We explained to him what our problem was. And Judge Allen goes, well, I've been listening to all this stuff in the news, and I don't care for it much myself either. So I'm going to issue a gag order.
Boom.
Boom.
No one in, no one out.
No one in, no one out. Nobody else got to go in and see Henry unless Guy Cox was there.
Oh, cool.
Me and Maddox were not even allowed to see Henry unless his lawyer, Guy Cox, was there.
Which you were already doing that, right?
Oh, we were already doing that. Yeah, we went to...
You were playing by the rules.
We were. We went to George Allen like the day after Henry got there, before we had ever questioned him, and asked him to appoint Henry a lawyer, and he appointed Guy Cox.
Cool.
Yeah. And Guy Cox, his office was only about a block from the courthouse.
Cool.
So it was easy for him to get over. Whenever he heard something was happening, he could be there in no time. And that was before metal detectors. Didn't have to, you could just walk right in the courthouse. Matter of fact, those doors at the top of those tall stairs.
Yeah.
Where if you look up, you can see a sign. You have to strain to see it. It's so far away. It says, do not enter. So if you walk up there, you're going to find a sign that says, do not enter. Those doors are locked now. So you had to stand in line to go through the first floor area through the metal detectors and get patted down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pat down.
At least we got some pretty decent guys working the metal detector.
Man, those people are always super nice.
Yeah, I like them.
I remember I had like a keychain knife one time. They're like, don't worry, John, we'll hold it for you. I'm like, appreciate you.
Yeah. They're
so
good
like,
guys.
we're going to confiscate that.
Yeah.
Take me in the back room for the pat down.
Yeah.
No, they're very nice.
Yeah, they're nice. I like
You got to
them.
appreciate it when you can,
But yeah, a guy could get there pretty fast. But so anyway, Judge Allen issued this gag order.
Cool.
And part of it was too that Henry couldn't talk to the press anymore. There had been enough press, and he was vacillating so much. Let's just stick to the facts.
Yeah.
Plus, Maddox and I, seeing how they were going to use any break against us to really, that's when they were going to try to batter down our gates.
And what would they say when you took a break? It'd be like, oh, they're going to, take this time to go, Henry's not doing what they want him to. They're going to, call a break to get him back on track with their side of the story. Like, what were they saying?
Oh, well, that's when they would get all the ex-Rangers to write letters to the editor. They'd have Mike Cox write 2 or 3 newspaper articles. And then they had Tom Pauken running his head over at KRZI, calling me every name in the book. Yeah.
We've heard some of that.
Yeah.
We'll hear more.
And folks, if you wonder how we tie Tom Pauken to Charles Duncan, we asked Charles Duncan in deposition, and then Gary asked him right there on the witness stand in the Below trial, what is it? Why did you come to Waco? Who's your first contact here? Who set up this meeting with you and Adam's right-hand man? And he said, Tom Pauken.
Boom.
Boom.
There it is.
Dropped him in the grease right there. Fried Pauken. So that's what we got. We got it under oath from Charles Duncan himself.
Well, here's an article, Vic. You pulled this one up. It says silence veils Lucas inquiry in McLennan. Mm-hmm. So you guys just straight up said, all right, man, we got too much business to take care of. No more of this talking with these crazies.
Yep.
Hey, it's by Mike Cox.
Yeah.
All right. Please, let's indulge in another Mike Cox article.
See, and this is May 4th, and we've read other May 4th articles by Mike Cox.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, and this one was published in Waco.
Right.
Yeah. Even though he was with the Austin Statesman.
Syndication. All right.
Media whore for the DPS.
And it says, Vic, Waco. After 3 weeks of press conferences and interviews surrounding the alternating, or was it Yeah, the alternating murder confessions by Henry Lee Lucas. Public officials were silent Friday when a grand jury recessed an investigation of the convicted killer in 2 McLennan County cases.
Yeah.
Slayings.
That drove him crazy. The sudden silence apparently is the outcome of telephone discussions between Feazell and Texas Attorney General's office. When Lucas appeared before the grand jury in mid-April, Attorney General Maddox participated in the proceedings and joined Feazell in the press conference. But Maddox was not in Waco Friday.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. See, Mike Cox is trying to make it look like there's some problem with Maddox not wanting to show up.
Right.
Well, not true. Maddox had a prior engagement he had to be at.
Yeah, he's the Attorney General.
He's the Attorney General. He had taken the Attorney General's airplane to Lubbock, Texas, where he was doing something in Lubbock, Texas.
Cool.
But even though Jim Maddox wasn't there, Reed Lockhoof was there, and Mike Hodge was there.
He had his guys.
Yeah. So I'll find that Vic and the Pips, Reed and the Pips, Reed Lockhoof, and then me and Mike Hodges standing
photo.
real cute with our hands on our waist. Yeah.
Real cute.
Yeah, it's a funny picture.
Oh, boy.
And so we'll put that on the website.
Nice.
And if I find it in time, maybe we can put it in this episode.
I'm okay with it.
So that after the grand jury recessed, Feazell even declined comment on when the panel would reconvene.
Wow, they're really just nipping at you, weren't they? Every little thing you did, just.
I wonder why I would deny comment on when the grand jury panel would reconvene.
Well, I mean, they would love to know, Vic. They would love to know every movement of when that thing's going to get together. Yeah. How many articles can we put in before they're going to reconvene? Right. How many can we fit in during a day?
And at this time, see, we didn't know yet that they had a plant on the grand jury telling them all this anyway. Because we're going to get to another article later where Mike Cox just absolutely goes and says when the grand jury's coming back. Now, how the hell did he find that out? Huh? Yeah. I'm really excited about our new podcast, too, that we're going to start.
I am too, Vic.
Practicing Mindfulness with Vic Feazell.
Hey,
we're going to take a lot of the stuff I've been talking about as far as evolution of consciousness and repurpose some of it for the other podcast. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of new content, and it's going to be some talk about a movement I'd like to start. And I think it's powerful. And I invite all my listeners to listen to the other podcast. You'll be able to find it also on vicfeazell.com.
Yes.
So the shutdown of comment was enhanced by an order from State District Judge George Allen barring Lucas from talking with reporters. The order also provides law enforcement officers, prohibits law enforcement officers from talking with Lucas without his court-appointed lawyer.
Perfect. Shut it down. Shut it down.
And even though they had all this,
Yeah.
in writing from their own media whore, they still go and subpoena me and Jim Maddox to a San Antonio grand jury, subpoena Henry to a San Antonio federal grand jury. Guy Cox went down there representing Henry, and they wouldn't let Guy in the building. And they're accusing me and Jim Maddox of violating Henry Lee Lucas's civil rights, where they take him and question him. Jan Patterson even threatens him. If you can believe Henry. He said she threatened him. But I do know she did not allow us in the building. Not only were we not allowed to speak to the grand jury, were we not allowed to go in the courtroom, were we not allowed to go in the hall, we weren't even allowed to come out of the hot sun into the building.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Well, that's just not even polite.
That's poor etiquette.
That's just not even
poor form, Vic. Wow. Oh, yeah, here it is. What you said, Vic. The order came after an interview with Lucas by Denver radio minister Bob Larson. Who talked with Lucas in his jail cell on Monday.
Out, Satan.
Then in the interview, which was broadcast nationwide Wednesday, Lucas said he had been compelled by McLennan County officials to recant his many confessions to the slayings. There it is.
Yeah.
Boom. Shut it down.
The only witnesses to testify before the grand jury Friday were the parents of an 18-year-old woman thought to have been the first person Lucas killed after his release from prison in Michigan. He had served time there for the 1960 slaying of his mother.
Mama.
Yeah. And let me see. Deborah Sue Williamson was killed on August 25th, 1975. 1975. Said Bob and Joyce Lemons of Gainesville lived in Lubbock when their daughter, Deborah Sue Williamson, was found stabbed to death at her residence in Lubbock on August 24, this says 77, but I have the police report here and it says 75.
Okay.
Lucas had been released from prison 2 days earlier.
So he was released. Wait, he was released, and then within 2 days, he made it all the way to Texas, did a random stabbing, and then, oh, God.
Yeah, and we know that's not true because we've got interviews with his wife and family and friends and everybody else who said he hung around there for 2 years. Yeah. He was only gone 2 nights during those 2 years, and they know where he was.
Yeah.
And they have witnesses to prove where he was because they were with him. Yeah. And then the only other time he left, he came down to Hurst, Texas, but he had his wife, Betty Crawford, and another couple with him. And they came down to pick up Betty's mom and take her back home with them. So that was the only other times. Bob Lemon said, we can't talk about what we said in the grand jury, but the facts are the same. We've talked about before. We don't think he killed our daughter, Bob Lemon said after the grand jury lunch break.
Yep.
Bob was something else. Bob was a real hero. Bob Lemon said he and his wife had spent $30,000 investigating the slaying of their daughter and had twice been to Maryland to talk to relatives of Lucas.
Right.
The relatives have said Lucas went to Maryland after his release.
Right. We have all that on tape. You know, we have Betty Crawford saying just that, exactly where he went after he was released.
Yep.
It's like they're not even trying, Vic. It's like they didn't even do even the slightest bit of effort into backing their own story.
Yeah, I know. So this interview with Bob Lemons was during the lunch break,
right,
of the grand jury. After that grand jury,
okay,
they stuck around for a couple days.
Cool.
I know they were there late that night. That's one of those nights that I was really late getting home. But they spent over the 2 days at least 10 hours with Henry Lee Lucas.
Really?
Yes. Confirming stuff they had found in Maryland, finding out other information that we were able to follow up on. I mean, Bob Lemons was an encyclopedia on Lucas.
Wow. The
only other person that might have known as much about Henry as Bob Lemons was Hugh Ainsworth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And a while ago when we were talking about professionalism and journalistic ethics.
Yes.
Now that's a guy who's ethical and has journalistic standards.
I agree
Hugh
with
Ainsworth. Jim Henderson, his old writing partner. Same thing, man. They were nominated for a lot of awards together. And then we cannot forget Doug Swanson.
Doug Swanson.
He worked for the same newspaper.
Yeah, he did.
And he's out of Dallas, although he's teaching in university in Pennsylvania.
Up in yes. Yeah. Good guy.
Good guy. Good book,
We need to have him back on.
We do. Cult of Glory. If you haven't bought your copy of Cult of Glory yet, do it.
Yep.
I'm still trying to get some signed copies out of Doug. We're still talking about how to get them signed and how to get them here. But he's been really busy. They've got him doing a lot more writing.
His book has had an pretty astounding impact.
Major impact, yeah. But I want to get 4 or 5 signed copies of that book and give them away.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with something for our listeners to do because I know we've got more than 5 listeners that would like to have that book. So we will figure out some criteria for fairly giving those 4 or 5 away.
Love it. That goes for our Scandinavian, European, and Eastern European listeners.
I know.
Which we have quite a few.
Oh, and
China. If the book will even get into China.
Yeah, I don't know. We do have listeners in China, but
We do.
It could be the government. Who knows? We have a lot of listeners in Washington, D.C.
It's kind of funny you say that because just a couple months ago, all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, tons of streams out of Washington. So
Isn't that amazing? I wonder if it's the government or if it's people that live there.
Maybe both. Maybe both. Oh, Lord.
Well,
Vic Feazell showed up as a blip on the radar again. Bloop, bloop.
we're not doing anything wrong.
Nah,
Everything we're saying is true, and we have the documents to prove it. This isn't just a true crime podcast.
Primary source.
You got it.
Well, you're the primary source. I'm like the degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon on this, but
well, besides Bob Lemons, Hugh Ainsworth, me, Truman, you're right up there in the top 5 people who know the most about Henry Lucas.
fair.
Really. And then behind you would probably be Taki Odom.
Sure.
Because Taki learned a lot about Lucas
Smart guy.
while he was helping to produce The Confession Killer on Netflix. But
You know, it's amazing how many, this is a total side note, but how many people still haven't seen it.
I know.
You know, like some of our new cases we get here at the law firm, you know, we'll talk about it. And it's like, have you seen The Confession Killer with Vic? No, what's that? It's like, do you have Netflix? Yeah. It's like, well, come on, fire it up.
I get notes all the time from people that go, wow, I just saw this.
I know
this is incredible. Yeah. And then the note we got, I'm going to read this on the other podcast, the Mindfulness podcast, but that really sweet note from the man who had been a marksman with the army in Iraq.
Yeah, the sniper.
Yeah, and had used the breathing techniques that I talk about on this show to help calm him in those situations. So, yeah, some really good stuff.
Good stuff, Vic.
So anyway, we're looking at an article here called Court Gets Lucas Interview.
From May 20th, 1985.
Yeah.
Still wasn't
This
born.
is some grand jury stuff that went public because Chris Piazza, well, no, this wasn't really from the grand jury. I think this was a statement that he took. Let's look at it and see.
Okay.
Chris Piazza was the district attorney in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Right.
He had convicted a guy by the name of Scotty Scott of a convenience store murder.
And we've talked about this case a little bit, and it was mentioned in The Confession Killer, too.
It was.
They brought it up.
So if you haven't seen our episode and listened to our episode on Scotty Scott, go back and look at it. Because that's what this is about. Based on a Lucas confession to the 1981 death of convenience store clerk Betty Thornton, then Circuit Judge Annabelle Clinton ordered a new trial for Scotty Scott of Hensley, Arkansas. Scott, the son of a former Arkansas state trooper, was convicted in 1983 of first-degree murder in Miss Thornton's death and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. So they had already convicted Scotty Scott.
Right.
But there's only one problem with the case. He was the son of an Arkansas state trooper. So, and Scott, after Henry confessed, they let him out on a $50,000 bond.
See ya.
For capital murder. $50,000 bond. And when Lucas came to testify in a hearing on the case, and former Judge Clinton ordered a new trial for Scott. So they had to try Scotty Scott again. Chris Piazza was not happy about that at all, and I don't blame him. They had the right guy. I remember me and him talking with Henry, and I'd already talked to Henry about this a lot. But he said that Boutwell came and got him out of his cell one time and said, there's somebody on the phone I want you to talk to.
Wow.
And it was an Arkansas state trooper who said, have you ever been in Arkansas around this time? Well, he'd been there a year later. Not that year. Well, close enough. Close enough. We had a policeman's son convicted over here of a murder, and we don't think he did it. And we just want to know what you think. And Henry goes, I didn't do it. And then Boutwell talks him into taking it.
See Boutwell's punch him. Say you did it.
Yeah, he said Boutwell talked him into it. And then Prince flew him up there.
Really?
To Little Rock, yeah. Yeah.
Fair.
Or either Prince or Boutwell. I know it was Prince that flew him up to the policeman's suicide thing when Henry confessed to killing the policeman that had committed suicide so the wife could get the insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but Boutwell talked him into taking this one. Said Pulaski County District Attorney Chris Piazza met with Lucas in Waco on May 6th and testified for several hours before the McLennan County Grand Jury, which is investigating Lucas's confessions and the role of the Texas Rangers Homicide Task Force investigation. Yep, that's what we're doing. Piazza said that Lucas told him he was familiar with the killing of Ms. Thornton because Arkansas and Texas lawmen fed him details and urged him to take the rap for the policeman's son.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep. And next he says, in the transcript of his conversation with Piazza, Lucas said he first heard about the Thornton slangs in 1983. Sheriff Jim Boutwell of Georgetown called Lucas to his office and asked him to talk on the telephone to an officer in Little Rock. This is from Lucas. And when asked by the officer if he had robbed any convenience stores on Interstate 30, Lucas said no, Piazza said. However, Lucas's statement said, I said the only time I was through there was in 1982, down on Interstate 30. Fair.
Yeah.
And and he says, well, I have a police officer's son that's in prison for a crime that we don't think he did. And he told me, would you help us out? And this is Lucas saying, I don't think that is my case, you know. And he said, well, why don't you, let's come down and talk to you and it might refresh your memory.
Let me refresh your memory.
Oh, that's so greasy, Vic.
When Arkansas lawmen came to Texas to interview Lucas, Lucas said they showed him pictures and videotapes of the crime scene, which provided him with details with which to confess to the shooting of Ms. Thornton.
That's it.
Yeah. Initially, Lucas said he told Boutwell he would not go to Little Rock and confess, but decided to do so after the sheriff threatened to isolate him from Clemmy Schroeder.
Oh, no. Taking away the Clemmy.
Yep.
That's so sad.
That was Henry's soft spot. Feazell said that statements he has heard from Piazza are consistent with what he has heard from Lucas.
Right.
I also know that the day the murder occurred in Arkansas, this is me talking. I also know that the day the murder occurred in Arkansas was the same day he purchased automobile insurance in Jacksonville, Florida.
Man.
Feazell said Florida law requires that whenever insurance is purchased, the insurance agent must log the sale in a chronologically ordered book. Feazell said the agent specifically remembers selling the insurance to Lucas.
Well, you know, he does present as an oddball.
Yeah, he do.
Real odd pickle.
Lucas's name is there and the date, and it's the same date as the murder in Arkansas. It's at 2 p.m., and the murder in Arkansas occurred at 4 o'clock that same afternoon. And from Jacksonville, Florida to Little Rock, Arkansas, you can't make it in 2 hours, even by plane, Feazell said.
Man, that's... Yeah. Oh, no.
So God bless Chris Piazza, and God bless the Lemons and Jim Maddox and everybody else.
This grand jury is really shaping up, man. And you had Hugh Ainsworth in there, so so all the disinformation, you know, although you had to field some questions from these grand jurors, you think that strong witnesses like this really helped bring them back in and get them focused?
Yeah, I do. Once they heard from Chris Piazza, and especially once they had heard from the Lemonses, because they had lost a daughter.
Yeah.
Because they had spent their life savings. Because they had their notebooks and their video and their pictures, and they had file boxes of stuff on Henry Lucas. And when they came in and spread all that out, well, the grand jury, except for one, started figuring out what was going on.
Except for the mole.
Yeah. And I felt a lot of love and support from those people.
Cool.
I did.
Makes all the difference, Vic.
Makes the difference.
Hi, I'm Vic Feazell. During these trying times, you might want to just stay home. And at the law offices of Vic Feazell, we understand.
That's why we're set up to handle your personal injury claim without you even having to come in. Just give us a call, and we'll take it from there. We can send any paperwork straight to your smartphone or computer. Don't delay, because if we don't put money in your pocket, you don't owe us anything. I'm Vic Feazell.